UKIP is not an extension of the Conservative Party. UKIP is not a replacement for the Liberal Democrats. UKIP is the natural home of disaffected Labour voters.
Yeah.
That is because we are the genuine People's Party. And why is this true? The old parties are so alike you can't get a cigarette paper between them. You might have heard Nigel say that a few times. Yet we are so different from the Conservatives in so many ways, not least our vision for our country, a vision based on the views of the populace. We are even more different from the Lib Dems because no one really knows what they stand for. We are better than Labour. We are much better than Labour because we are the new champion of the workers, the pensioners, and the ordinary folk of our country. That's because we are the workers, the pensioners, and the ordinary folk of our country. For UKIP to grow at the rate we are doing currently, we must fight every seat in the local elections. Every member of UKIP has a responsibility. Without UKIP on every ballot paper, how will we know if our message is getting through? How will we give hope to those who demand change? How can we explain our views, the majority views, within our localities if UKIP is not listed on the ballot paper? UKIP has never been so popular as we are now. We have a large share of MEPs and we are on course for taking the majority next time. But, and it is a big but, to translate that into members of Parliament where we can make the national changes that people are so desperate for, we need to get people used to voting for us. So we need members to put their names down for the local elections. I received a letter recently from Derek Clark for the East Midlands in February, and two sentences stood out to me. Please remember, he said, that for many voters it becomes habitual to vote for a particular party time after time. He also said it is unrealistic to expect them to suddenly vote UKIP in the general election. How right he is. Strangely, I've actually been asked to speak about my Labour roots and how that fits in with UKIP. First of all, I'd like to tell you what it means to be a councillor. Practically, it means you have to attend a certain number of meetings each year. Derbyshire, for instance, where I'm from, it's 8. But if, like me, you want to be a good representative, then you should consider attending other meetings, like local forums, neighbourhood watch meetings, residents' meetings, and so on. This way you will get to know of the concerns of the people you represent. Don't, whatever you do, just assume you know. You might want to hold surgeries where people come to you confidentially to discuss issues they might have with the council and, on occasions, the government. Your role as a councillor gives you influence on how the council performs its duties. And when you manage to achieve the majority of the councillors on the council, your influence becomes even greater by allowing you to form policy. And God knows our local authorities need our influence. The rewards for being a councillor, in my view, are immense. Being able to help people in many areas is wonderful. The biggest proportion of people I have helped are those who do not have loud voices and find it difficult to be heard. Vulnerable people who find access to help so impossible. Children and their parents, desperate for the council to listen. Through to simple things like replacement bins or opposing yet another takeaway in the area. I spent many years as a Labour councillor until eventually it dawned on me that Labour didn't actually support the ordinary person. They don't respect the views of the public, and they are prepared to lie like all the old parties just to get your vote. and I was restricted to having to toe the party line, one of the many reasons we parted. Thank you. But it's okay when you know you have to compromise sometimes, but there are occasions when it became very difficult to agree. Yet I was still expected to vote for them. I personally spent 15 years cultivating people to vote Labour, although it is fair to say that many voters will always vote the same way, without actually thinking about what they are doing. And the best you can expect from these people is that they merely refuse to vote. However, cultivating people to vote for you takes time and effort. I can tell you that Labour are extremely organised. Not only do they have an army of foot soldiers, but also writers, designers, telephone canvassers, and a very long history of collecting voters' data. Their resources are vast and effective, and I believe we need to organise ourselves in a similar fashion. We need to canvass, collect data, collate it, and use it to target. That said, we have taken some very large strides recently. In my first election for UKIP, I cut the Labour majority from 1,200 to 400, but more importantly, increased UKIP's vote from 400 to over 1,000. And to put it into some context, the Conservative vote halved and the Lib Dem vote disappeared. Next time, I'll take that seat. We must fight against Labour as hard as we fight against the Conservatives. I personally do not believe in the left or right descriptions handed down to political parties. I much prefer right and wrong. UKIP to me is not right-winged, right-leaning, right-sided. It is merely right. Traditional Labour supporters have and are being let down by the Labour Party. Remember, they created the open door policy on immigration, allowing tidal wave after tidal wave of economic migrants into our country, and mostly not for our benefit, as they sometimes try to espouse, but to take our tax money, our health services, our housing, our spaces, our charity, and if we do not do something soon, our country. Traditional Labour voters need to understand that the reason we have no council houses or social housing for their children is because of Labour. The reason benefits are being squeezed is because of Labour. The reason there is a long queue at the hospital is because of Labour. The reason we are losing our open spaces to enjoy is because of Labour. In Derby, one of the anti-Labour decisions the Labour Party have made recently are slashes to the grants to voluntary organisations. They're doing exactly the same as the Conservatives, although, of course, they are blaming the Conservatives. And just in case it's not obvious, I don't like the Conservatives either. Yet last year, I was inspired by the Olympics. What a great result for Team GB. I was proud to see my fellow countrymen getting behind our country and our athletes. I was encouraged by the spirit of our country, a spirit that links directly to our aims. We should be building on that momentum of the Olympics and Team GB. We need to move our country forward because in political terms, UKIP is our Team GB. Thank you very much.